Hi, I'm Dr. Chad Larson. Thanks for joining me in another episode of Keep It Real. Did you know that after 2 years of using the same pillow, up to 1/3 of the weight of your pillow could be dead skin, dust mites, which eat the dead skin, and then dust mite poop, which is the byproduct of them eating your dead skin in your pillow. And after 2 years, 1/3 of the weight could be this combination of things. And I've tested a lot of people for allergies, and dust mites oftentimes come up. So a lot of people may not be realizing that they're putting their head on a pillow that's full of dust mites. And so this is a really key time for allergies right now in the spring. We just came off of a pretty intense flu season, and so people might be rolling into spring with immune systems that are a little bit vulnerable to these types of allergies. So I just want to make you aware of some sources of these allergies, and then maybe some strategies to help you decrease the effects that these allergies might have on your body. So that one that I mentioned came out from a really recent research study that was done in Britain. And so a real basic strategy for that is, if you've had a pillow for 2 years, which most people have, a lot of people use pillows, they just change the pillowcase thinking that it's just everything ends up in the pillowcase and the pillow's fine. But that's not true. It's not just the pillowcase, it's the pillow itself where a lot of this dead skin and dust mites settle. And so you want to either buy new pillows or look up how to wash your pillow. Yeah, washing a pillow is a little bit more complicated than just throwing it in the washer and dryer. You can do that, but I think that'd cause some clumping of the material. And so you got to follow some instructions depending on what type of material is on the inside of the pillow. So either wash it or get a new one, and that could decrease a major allergen that you might be exposed to every night for several hours. Here in Southern California, during the winter, we had a really wet winter, which was great for us because it took us pretty much out of a 6-year, pretty serious drought. But one of the side effects of that is that there's lots and lots of things that are in bloom. I'm seeing a lot more flowers and different plants in bloom that I haven't seen in years, which is awesome for people who don't have allergies. But if people are susceptible to the pollens that come from these plants, then they're kind of suffering with a lot of upper respiratory. On the low side, it could be just little sniffles and maybe watery eyes. And for some people that where it reacts more severely, could have pretty debilitating asthma and breathing problems. So it could be a real issue. So there's a few things to think about to help mitigate these responses to these common allergens. And a couple simple things are, if you're one of these who have these kind of symptoms of upper respiratory sneezing, maybe even coughing, wheezing, asthma, difficulty breathing, itchy eyes, dry eyes, most of them happen in upper respiratory, but in some people they manifest as skin conditions like redness and rashes and things like that. And so what's happening is your immune system is exposed to these allergens, and then your immune system reacts to it by something called mast cells, M-A-S-T, mast cells releasing histamine. And it's mostly this histamine that causes all these adverse effects that people usually suffer from as symptoms. And so there's some ways that we can decrease, first of all, the immune system's exposure to these allergens. And the couple things to think about there is, at the end of the day, your clothes have collected, and your skin have collected a lot of these potential allergens, pollens, and just different debris that we're exposed to just in our local environment. And so you want to take off your clothes and put on some fresh, clean clothes when you get home at the end of the day. And also, if you're more of a morning shower person, that's fine, but you should take another shower at the end of the day. And because a lot of these things accumulate on the skin, so you want to make sure that you're putting on fresh clothes, clean clothes, And also you want to take another shower or bath and get all these potential allergens off your skin. Another thing is we breathe constantly, all day, every day. So a lot of these allergens go into our mucous membranes in our nose and our nasal passageway. And so there's some very simple techniques that have been around for a really long time of nasal irrigation. There's one that's pretty popular called the neti pot, N-E-T-I pot. You can find it in multiple locations. And neti pot is a technique that is used for nasal irrigation. Also, they have sort of squeeze tubes that you just kind of like a water bottle that you squeeze. It's made to go up in the nasal passageway. And what it does is it helps to cleanse the debris, the allergens that might be accumulating in those passageways. Also, if you're susceptible to, if you tend to mow the grass or work in the yard and get a flare-up of those symptoms, I would strongly suggest that you delegate that work to somebody else so that you're not getting constantly exposed to those allergens in your yard. The same might be true with if you're sensitive to animal dander. If somebody else could do the cleansing and bathing of your animals, that might be helpful as well. So those are some strategies just to decrease the amount of exposure to these potential allergens that can lead to these symptoms. But what if you've been exposed and you're already experiencing symptoms? The main strategy that we want to consider is helping to stabilize those mast cells. If we could stabilize the mast cells, then they'll decrease the amount of histamine that's released. And if we can keep the histamine down, then that will help to decrease the symptoms that you have. So there are some pharmaceutical mast cell stabilizers, but this show is called Keep It Real. So I want to tell you about some natural sources of mast cell stabilization. And so these are some things that you can do every day during flu season to help decrease the symptoms of allergies. So one of them is vitamin C. Vitamin C is an excellent mast cell stabilizer. Another one is a nutrient that's found in lots of plant foods called quercetin. Quercetin is also an excellent mast cell stabilizer. And these things can be found in things like berries and onions and citrus and broccoli and tomatoes and peppers. There's lots of quercetin and vitamin C in these foods. So if you're eating these on a regular basis, that'd be really, really helpful to decrease that mast cell stabilization. Also, another strategy is to purchase authentic, raw, local honey. So these bees have been, pollinating the flowers in your area. And so you want to make sure, you probably have to get these at a farmer's market or a local co-op or something like that, wherever you can find local honey in your area. And the idea is that when you take a teaspoon per day of this honey, it's kind of like preventative medicine. It helps your body to decrease the histamine response when you're actually exposed to those same pollens that the bees pollinate. So kind of a cool strategy. Another thing you want to do is you want to use a HEPA filter, a carbon HEPA filter in your house or your office, wherever you might be exposed to these certain allergens, and those will help to suck those allergens out of the air so you're not breathing them in. And then also when you vacuum, you want to vacuum with a vacuum that has also a HEPA filter. HEPA is kind of a next level filtration device that really helps to get certain things like pollens out of the carpets that you're cleaning. Things like from a continuing on kind of the food standpoint, turmeric is an excellent spice that also has some mast cell stabilization characteristics. And so you can apply turmeric to a variety of foods. You can do that every day to help decrease inflammation and mast cell stabilization. And then you could also get these things in supplement form. There's some, good food, let's say vitamin and nutrient manufacturers that have created supplements that have things like quercetin and vitamin C. There's another botanical that we oftentimes use with people who have allergies called nettles. Nettles also helps to stabilize these mast cells and decrease histamine. And so you can get supplements that have things like curcumin and resveratrol, which help to stabilize this histamine reaction and also are anti-inflammatory. You can also get supplements that have vitamin C and quercetin and nettles. And there's another nutrient, it's an enzyme that we often use called bromelain, which comes from pineapple, but it can be synthesized into a standalone enzyme that nutrient manufacturers can put in vitamins. And so you can have this combination of mast cell stabilizers all in one capsule. And then of course you could consume some of these things in your diet, like I mentioned before. So there's some strategies that you can use to decrease the effects of allergies. And you want to make sure that you're going to decrease exposure first with some of the things that I mentioned before. Just to recap, you can make sure and change your clothes when you get home at night. Take a bath or a shower to cleanse the body of any allergens that might have accumulated. Do a nasal irrigation to get the allergens out of the nose and the nasal canal. And also some strategies to help mast cell stabilization, like vitamin C and quercetin and bromelain, and some of these botanicals that help to decrease the histamine response. Because here's what happens is most allergies are mediated by a part of the immune system called immunoglobulin E, or we call it IgE. And when IgE goes up, that causes histamine to be released, and that's a very inflammatory process in the body. And then from there, either the histamine builds up for one of two main reasons. Either excessive histamine is released, or there's an enzyme called diamine oxidase, which is supposed to break down the histamine. So some people have a deficiency of this diamine oxidase. And so this could also be taken in supplement form to help increase the chance that you're going to break down the excess amount of histamine. So there's a few strategies to consider. Hope that's helpful, and I hope you stay happy and healthy in spring. And I'll keep bringing strategies as I keep reading the studies, and you just keep it real.